to me, whether I'm hanging out with my family at home or I'm at the office and I have a client and they're struggling with something and I'm able to help them overcome it, I'm always going to translate that to social media. I think there's just too much value in everybody's thoughts that just doesn't get put out enough.
Great experiences build great leaders. Great leaders build great teams. This is Building Great Sales Teams. So do I get to do the initial?
Go for it.
Welcome to the Building Great Sales Teams podcast. Good morning, noon, and night. It is I, Ryan, and our resident host, Mr. Doug Mitchell. We were on the road from Corpus. We just spent some time with the Corpus team, had a blast, celebrated an anniversary, said goodbye to some great people, but the podcast never sleeps. So we have a special episode. We're going to do another Q&A. The first question that we have on our list is, if you have core values and you're playing music in your office, how closely aligned should those core values be to the music that's playing in your office? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. So this is a tough one, right? Because in sales culture in general, it's a lot of rap, it's a lot of hustling, getting money, you know what I mean? And so I think Wayne probably handled this the best when we first started. And so he would focus it around, he had an Argenta playlist, which was really cool. So, and everything in the playlist, there was curse words in it and stuff, but it wasn't like, hey, I'm getting bitches and fucking hoes and all this stuff. It was more like, rap that tells a story. Songs that talk about the grind and everything, but it's not the violence and the drugs and everything else. It's more the character, the stories that go behind them.
Right. So like let's say we had Lil Wayne. Why are you laughing? No, honestly.
Yeah.
So Lil Wayne, he has a ton of songs that are clearly kind of like gang culture, drug culture. Like, how would you square that with, like, let's say it's on a playlist, like Apple sometimes you do playlists. Mm-hmm. Like, are you going with you try to find the clean versions of a lot of stuff, or are you trying to go just straight however it comes?
No, because I don't believe that we shouldn't curse. I mean, that's just silly. Like, curse words have their place. I believe that people curse too much. So I wouldn't be looking for the clean version necessarily, but I would have, Lil Wayne does have some songs where he just tells a story in them. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it is about the record industry and, going against the big record companies and stuff like that, and owning your own label and not being a slave to the man,
Right.
That would be a great song for us, you know what I mean? But
we're not playing Lil Wayne's Lollipop.
Yeah, no. 90% of his stuff is not going to be really appropriate for the office, you know what I'm saying? And so, that's the best way to do it. Create the playlist, and then based on the playlist, create a station from that, and then you get the kind of stuff you want. So he wouldn't just have rap in there. He would have Imagine Dragons is one, some, not necessarily pop, but those ballads that everybody likes,
Yeah, so kind
just
of like
high energy, good content, overcoming obstacles, that type of stuff that, makes sense for a sales office.
For sure. So it's safe to say no Beethoven, right? Or
I mean, okay, so I've been really hot on this lately, and when I run, and especially my long distance runs. So, okay, I gotta give credit to Trevor Cowley. So I was at the RBO Mastermind, the one that we had in Utah, And Trevor Calloway was like, I don't listen to rap anymore. You know, I listen to classical music. And I'm like, man, but classical music's so boring. Like, I get it. The talent involved is insane. Putting together those ensembles is just crazy, like with full band, full orchestras and all that. He was like, oh, but I also do like they do covers of rap songs. Like, okay, what is he talking about? So I kind of like researched it on Pandora, and I found this station called Black Violin, and it is like 70% rap songs that are covered by violins, and it is freaking awesome. And so that's what I listen to, because there's no lyrics. It's just the instrumental, but it's with violins, and everything sounds better in violin.
That's very true. Everything sounds better in classical music, but we're not going to touch on that. Like, shout out to all the rappers and aspiring rappers out there who are trash, but we're not going to tell them that.
I mean, this could morph into a rap conversation. I mean, that's what we usually do on these trips anyway.
That's very true.
So what's the debate that you... Well, no, not a debate. So Ryan has a theory. I'm gonna let Ryan walk through this theory, because
are we talking about
people listening to this listen to rap? You know what I'm saying? And I think most of y'all can agree with me that, like, the rap that's out now, the younger culture, the mumble rap, even some of the trap type stuff has no heart. You know what I mean? There's no lyricism in it. It's amazing production. These guys are amazing producers, or they have amazing producers.
Facts.
There's no heart in it. You know what I mean? It's, you know, I'm not talking about like the stuff that J. Cole or Kendrick or those type of guys are coming out with, Logic, Eminem. I'm talking about, like, I can't even, Lil whatever, put something behind it. That's what I'm talking about.
Young Gravy.
Lil this, Lil that, Young this, Young that. Like, your name's not even original. You know what I mean?
So basically this is my theory, and this is a whole nother tangent. I'm a music guy, so 2013, that's when music stopped being good. It's 2013 Grammys. There was an artist, his name is Macklemore. Macklemore won a Grammy over Kendrick Lamar. It was The Heist versus Good Kid, Mad City. Once The Heist won a Grammy over Good Kid, Mad City, that's when music went downhill. People stopped caring about making albums, and they started making a bunch of singles that they can package together, and that's the issue with society. Just society in general is because Macklemore won the 2013 Grammy. That's why Donald Trump was elected, and that's why Joe Biden is the president now. No, but honestly, I get that, because you want to, because it kind of leads into my next question. You want the music that you have in your offices to kind of be on brand with the message that you're trying to give out, right?
Yeah,
like, that's kind of the culture. Culture you're trying to build. So then my next question would be, as far as branding goes for your company, do you care about how your team brands themselves outside of the company? So, like, their social media, is that something that you would be kind of mindful of when you're looking at people who are staying on the team?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like, the whole idea of my social media is for me, and you know, I want to just post personal stuff on there, and I don't want to use social media as a tool, is complete bullshit. You know, like, if social media is one of the easiest ways to sell your product, period. Mm-hmm. Like, that is what we preach all day long in Apex and building your machine. I had a call last Friday talking to the guys about becoming that attractive character on social media. And here's the thing, it makes you a better person whether you know it or not. Because if you're truly telling the truth on social media, at the same time, you're holding yourself accountable, right? So if I'm saying, hey, you know, if you want to dial in your disciplines and you want to have a better life in general, you know, you got to stop the getting drunk till 2 a.m., right?
Right.
And so if I go out after that and I get drunk till 2 a.m. and I'm in pictures with people on social media at 2 a.m. at bars and stuff like that, I'm being a hypocrite, right? I mean, nobody's perfect, and you want to reduce the amount of times you do it. And sometimes the situation is appropriate, you know, like I may be in that bar at 2 a.m., but I've only had 2 beers, you know. It's more about the conversations that I'm having with the people that are there, right?
Right.
I mean, there's something for everything, right? But it also keeps it in the back of your head, like, hey, I put it out there on social media. I put out there that I was doing 75 hard, like you are right now.
Yes, I am.
Like, I have to go back on there and say I failed if I don't finish it.
Right.
And that can be in the back of your head, and it's like, man, that's a motivator right there. It's a negative motivator, but it's still a motivator. So, but anyways, going back to executing on social media for sales, like, it's tough because young people are young. They're going to be young people no matter what, right?
Exactly, yeah.
But I don't want to be in any situation in which I'm not having integrity with who I am. So whether it's on social media or whether it's at work, I want to be the same person, right? And so if I believe that, Argenta Solar is the best solar company in the world, then I'm going to talk about that on social media because I talk about it in person. And I talk about it with my friends and family too. Like this whole division of, business and personal life, sure, it exists if you're not in sales and you don't own a business. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that exists somewhat, but at the same time, they meld together so well, and there's so much benefit from sharing your struggles on social media and then the lesson from those struggles. Like, there's so many people that need to hear that message. So, to me, whether I'm hanging out with my family at home and, I have a teaching lesson with my son, or I'm at the office and I have a client and they're struggling with something and I'm able to help them overcome it, whatever the account of life is, I'm always going to translate that to social media as a post or as a learning lesson, whatever the case is. I think there's just too much value in everybody's thoughts that just doesn't get put out enough.
No, I 100% agree with that because I have been doing 75 hard. Only reason why I'm posting it on social media is because of Doug here. He said if I don't post it, it don't count. Mm-hmm. And one thing is, I have a friend at my church who she stopped me. She was like, "Hey, you've inspired me to start reading again. Like, I'm not going to do the whole 2 workouts and 1 outside thing, but I'm going to start reading." And I was like, oh man, that's awesome, because you really don't know how you are affecting people when you are posting it on social media. And I think another thing is with, like, yesterday I did a post, me and Doug, we were just traveling, so we had a fitness center in the gym, and like I used the this is how you achieve freedom, and achieve freedom as a hashtag, and that was like that's a part of our mission statement. And when people know that you work for a particular company, especially when you're a part of groups like Apex that Doug is a part of, like I get friend requests because people are on Doug's Dream 25, so they're like reaching out to me and adding me. But they'll see like, hey, who does he have around him? And then if they know that you work for this company, they're gonna see who the boss of the company is, and they're gonna want to know, like, oh, is this what they let slide? Is this with their core values? Yeah,
100%.
All the time. No man is an island. Like, you're always going to be a part of some kind of group, whether you like it or not. Like, it's just the way that humans are wired to view people and view things as a part of a group. Mm-hmm. So I think that's kind of like my little 2 cents on that.
Well, and I think that's where growth comes from. When you put yourself out in front of people and, they're not like actively holding you accountable. You're doing it to yourself because of their perception of you. You want to make sure that that's a good perception, right? Right. And it creates this extra layer of accountability, that has benefited me so much in the past couple of years since I started doing it. And it's not, and that is the deal. That's the deal too. You are going to get those messages, like you got the other day in person.
So we're coming back from Corpus Christi.
So the reason that we went there was threefold. Okay, so one, and these are all things that I just want to highlight and kind of tie them back to core values, as well as kind of the culture that we have in the company right now. So the first reason was we're partnered with a Champion Shoes and we just finished our first shoe wrapping party.
So much fun.
Yeah, it was pretty cool experience. And so what they do, and this is what I love about Mike Claudio's foundation, is they put together basically a shoe wrapping party in a box, right? They send the boxes to you. You know, we got 23 pairs of shoes, wrapping paper, tape, stickers, the thank you cards, as well as the notes for the kids that are getting these shoes. So if you don't know about the foundation, what they do is they buy shoes for kids that are in need, right? So, you know, the local organization that we're working with is Big Brothers and Big Sisters. Yeah. And so they gave us a list of 23 kids that needed new shoes or whatever. And so Champion Shoes sends us everything for that. And then they also include a note in the box that allows the kid to send a thank you note. And the whole idea behind it is, you know, obviously you're practicing paying it forward as the person donating the shoes, which is it's our company, right? Right. But you're also encouraging them to practice gratitude, which, you know, is one of our core values. We live in gratitude, and so it's really cool to be able to kind of spread that message too at the same time that we're donating these shoes. So anyways, we got the team together. We replaced our sales meeting with a shoe wrapping party, and we stuffed and wrapped 23 boxes of shoes. And so Big Brother Big Sister's probably gonna come tomorrow and pick those up and be able to give the shoes to the kids and everything. And I think they're gonna take some pictures for us and send them to us. But that was a really cool event that was months in the works, because we wanted to kind of be more involved than just the money piece, right? Right. You can donate to a Champion Shoes. You can do that via their website very easily, but we wanted to get involved with the money piece of it. Then we can get the content out there that will share the message of a Champion Shoes and get more donations on top of that. So that was the idea behind that. So we did that today. We went down for that trip, and then it turned out that last week was Cheyenne, our operations admin's 1-year anniversary. And so she's like easily the newest staff member that I have. And so we wanted to celebrate with her. You know, originally Wayne, our VP of sales, was just going to take her out to lunch or whatever. And then we were like, oh, well, we're coming into town anyway, so why don't we make it a big deal? And then yesterday was Josie
Valdez?
Valdez, yes. Yeah. Josie Valdez. It was her last day. And so she and her boyfriend are going to do, he's in the Navy. He's doing training in California.
San Diego. Yep.
Yeah. And then they're going to be off to Japan after that. So she's leaving the company, going to go do the Navy thing in Japan. So that should be a very interesting experience for her. But she was one of our top closers. So like she was a big loss that we're experiencing, but we're also happy for her because they're going to get married and everything and start their family. And so we're really happy for her. But so, you know, the trip encompassed all those things, and I'm enjoying this part of the process of building a new sales team around solar because we're small right now. Yeah. So we can do the intimate stuff like this where... and
it feel authentic.
When we were at 100 people plus, it was like send them a gift card and, you know what I mean?
Call it a day.
Like there was birthdays and anniversaries and stuff going on every week. So it was like send them a gift card or take them out to lunch or whatever. And couldn't really make it that big of a deal, but we can right now while we're small. So we're definitely taking advantage of that.
So that kind of leads me into my next question. Okay. Is how important is team night to building that culture? Because like you said, we did 2 lunches between yesterday and today, and then also Doug, my man, we went on a little date night at Thai Cottage, and it was nice. Like we had a chance to just kind of like forget about work, talk about the wives and all that good stuff, and all that jazz. So how on like a scale of 1 to 10, where would you place team nights and stuff of that nature?
So this is tough. This is really tough because I guess I've been jaded the past like 10 years of team nights. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And here's the tough part is we work in door-to-door sales, right? And don't get me wrong, at every level, salespeople can be childish. Doesn't matter if you're selling high-ticket items, 6 figures, or door-to-door, you know what I mean? Like, low 6 figures, whatever the case is. Like, but there's always that guy. There's always that guy that has too much to drink and acts a fool. You know what I mean? Like,
so I got a story whenever you finish.
Okay. Oh, I got one too. So let me tell you the horror stories and kind of why I'm jaded. So probably our second Christmas party that we did at a restaurant. We rented the room in the back. We actually rented the restaurant for the night. Okay. And we had the main room with the stage and everything. And so we went through awards, bonuses, all that good stuff. And it was open bar. You know what I mean? And so that one guy took advantage of the situation. Well, and here's the whole deal. It's like, this is where building a culture and core values comes into play. Because if you don't, and I didn't properly back then, if you don't, then you'll get people like this in the organization that the 2 hours in between the meeting that we had and the Christmas party, he chose to go straight to a bar to drink as many drinks as he could, then go to a strip club, and then go to the Christmas party.
Jeez.
Right? And so he was already toasted by the time he got to the Christmas party. So we went through all the awards and everything. We had a good time. And then we sat down to eat. And by this time, I guess, and I didn't even know, we had probably 40 plus people at this thing. By this time, he was blitzed. And he went outside to smoke. They're usually smokers. Look out for the smokers. He went outside to smoke. And some people were walking by, and he managed to find the dude that walks down the street and tries to fight somebody that's standing outside of a restaurant. He found that dude. And so he gets into a fight, gets his ass kicked, and then, of course, we got to take care of him, get him back to the hotel room. It's a whole deal. And so that's the kind of stuff that, like, there's two ways to go about it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know that I'm ever going to be at the level to where I'm going to, like, drink with my salespeople, my management, even my partners. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't, like, drink. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about, like, at the house with your family, and you guys are drinking, right? And I don't really get drunk like that anymore anyway, so that kind of eliminates that.
Right.
But if there's alcohol involved, then yes, you need to have your core values on point. You need to know that the people that are with you have a good head on their shoulders and they're not going to do stupid shit. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And don't get me wrong, like, we got some young guys and we had our MDM trip, you know what I mean? And they did some stupid shit, but they corrected after we corrected them. They now know when we go out to do stuff like that, like, this is appropriate and this is not appropriate. It gets so convoluted. But anyways, so if your core values are strong and you have a good culture, you don't have to worry about it as much. But if you do have a somewhat large organization with a lot of different people, here's the easiest way to nix it all in the butt. Don't pay for alcohol.
Yeah.
If you're doing a team night, and this is my rule, period, right? Unless it's something intimate with, like, me and Wayne. Well, Wayne doesn't even drink anyways. But, like, me and somebody that I know that I trust. You know what I'm saying? I'll pay for their alcohol with dinner, right? But that's usually not like a big party or anything. So going back to team nights where you're paying for dinner, or you guys are at a pool hall, or you guys are at Topgolf, you know, and that's the other thing too. Do things with activities on team night.
For sure.
Because it's harder to sit there and get drunk if you actually have an activity to do. So obviously there's a ton of things you can do. There's Topgolf, there's the escape rooms,
bowling,
you know, all this fun stuff that's kind of cheesy, but once people get into it, they love it, right?
Yeah.
And so, but that's the key. Don't pay for drinks no matter what. Have a hard policy on that. Don't pay for drinks. You know, you can even go one step further, and I'll even do this every now and then, is if you pay for your own drinks, because they're going to pay for their own drinks, right? You're not going to like say they can't drink. But if you pay for your own, pay those on a personal card, and then put all the food on the business, right? But anyways, so that's, I feel like, the tried and true method, and then you don't have any liability as well. But going back to your question, because I just went
it's a whole thing, yeah. No, I feel you.
Going back to your question, I do believe that camaraderie is incredibly important. I don't know that it has to be once a week. I think once a month is just fine. It just depends on where your team is at.
Right.
I mean, are you guys crushing it? You're knocking it out of the park, and you're taking them out to dinner once a week to celebrate, or once every 2 weeks? I think once every 2 weeks is plenty. And once a month, if, you know what I mean, like your team isn't knocking it out of the park and they're just doing average or whatever. But it shouldn't become this thing that is expected to be paid for by the company, you know. And if you are on a budget, then just let them know beforehand, hey, we're doing team night, we're all meeting up here, we're going to pay for appetizers, and then y'all got to cover your own meals or whatever else you want to do. Or just tell them straight up, hey, we're doing team night here, we're going to play pool. Pool is pretty cheap. And so, but everybody's going to pay their own way. Let them know before. Most people will appreciate that. And then when you go out and have a good time, you'll be in good shape. But I think twice a month is plenty of team building activities, you know. And again, door-to-door culture, you're doing sales for a summer, that's a whole different animal, right?
Yeah.
Our company's always been, you know, stay in one place and open up an office there and sell there. You know, that's a whole different culture than like a summer sales program. You know, summer sales program, the team nights are going to be a natural thing that are going to happen naturally. You're not really going to have to plan those.
So I used to not go to any team nights, and here's why, right? I did not go because the first time I even heard about a team night, it was at the old Fredericksburg office in 211, okay. Right? And so I'm not saying any names, but a team that you had set up, they went to Top Golf, and the next day they were like, we got kicked out of Top Golf, they have our pictures up. I was like, oh my gosh. And I was brand new to the company, like this was like 3+ years ago, and I was like, dude, I am never going anywhere with these people. I grew up with my mom saying, hey, you know what, remember you're black. Like that was said in my household, because it's like it's a different kind of animal when you know that you're not invincible. When you know you're not invincible, you kind of do things a little bit differently. So like I heard those stories, I was like, man, this is a wild company. I need the job, so I'm not gonna quit. But like, I am never going to a team night.
Yeah, I remember that group.
But yeah, recently we've had we've had a lot of good people come in and come out, and it's just been a nice atmosphere. Like,
yeah.
We can do things like a team lunch and talk about Disney crushes and
we did today, yeah.
and TV shows and all that good stuff, because it's just generally just good times hanging out with your friends or hanging out with your work family, and you know, it's it just kind of, like you said earlier, the business and the personal kind of mix so well together when you're doing everything right, when you're doing everything clean, so to speak.
Well, and you know what was cool about, and this is probably the first time I've done this consistently, but because one of our core values is we work hard, we pray hard, every meal that we had, we said a prayer before the meal.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, I can go down the HR rabbit hole that is, you know, praying for your team when you're at lunch, you know what I'm saying? But if they don't like it, they don't have to listen. You know what I'm saying? They don't have to bow their head. They can step away and go to the restroom while we're praying. You know what I mean? Like, and the prayers aren't like specific to one religion, really. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, me and Wayne definitely pray a certain way. You definitely pray a certain way. But it was just cool to be able to do that, and everybody participated, and everybody did. Everybody participated. You know what I'm saying? And like, it not be a thing.
Right.
You know, it just be like, hey, this is what we do. This is one of our core values. We work hard, we pray hard.
Yeah, no, that's one of the main things that kind of brought me back was that shift in core values, because like the adage is always we work hard, we play hard. Wiz Khalifa made the song about it. Just and sales culture in general, you make a lot of money and you spend it really fast. And that aspect of what we do at Argenta, with it being, with everything seems a little bit more dialed back than what normal sales culture looks like, and that's always been, or it has become one of my biggest things of enjoying where we're at. Like it's easy to talk about what I do at work. It's easy to talk about my coworkers when, you know, I'm not feeling like. It's like, nah, you don't need to know what I do at work. Like, you don't need to know the kind of people that I work with. You know what I mean? Like, and that Topgolf story made me feel like that. I was like, man, if I ever go and I want to go to Topgolf with my church, they got my picture up. Like, I'm a part of that group. Like, nah, it couldn't be me.
We just, you know, and going back to back then, that was like 3 years ago. Like, we did not have a strong culture, but we didn't have strong leadership at the time. And that's because I was literally going through a divorce, you know what I mean? Like, getting paperwork for that emailed to me, you know, and like, the last thing I was thinking about was the culture of my company. You know, I was thinking about making sure my business was running smooth, just looking at operations, sales, income, all that stuff, and then dealing with all my personal shit, you know? And so that was an absolute reflection of leadership at the time, and that was on me, you know? And as soon as I started focusing on the right stuff, that culture completely changed. And it does. It gets a lot smaller. You know, the gross income gets smaller. But that's the deal. Like, we don't talk about it enough in my circles. You know, I'm in circles with business leaders, movement makers, and, you know, people that, like, have influence in the small business community, especially in Texas and nationwide, right? And everybody loves to talk about core values. Everybody loves to talk about, you know, hiring and firing on them and the way your company should operate. And I don't feel like we talk about the consequences of them enough. And I feel like if we talk about the consequences more, people will follow through more with the process of whether they have an existing company and they want to purge it because there's so much going on throughout the company that is just they are not aligned with, right?
Right.
Or they're starting a brand new company, and especially these young bucks coming in expect, you know, everything to be gravy in their first few years, which if you're going to sacrifice your values, then yes, that can't happen quickly. Like, and I guess that's the point I'm getting to is I feel like if I wanted to, we could be at 100 solar sales a month right now. All we would have to do, excuse me, all we would have to do is cut some corners, charge customers a little too much, and pay our salespeople these huge commissions, rip off some customers, you know, and cut corners with our sales process, with our follow-up process, with our customer service experience, and then even cut some corners with our sales rep experience. But if it's money motivated, who cares, right?
Right.
As long as they're making $5,000 a week or something like that, they're going to be happy. And so we could do all that, and we could create this monster and do big numbers, and then I could brag about my numbers in front of my friends and feel like a big guy and all this stuff. But I think there's just so much more power in creating it based on core values and creating it with integrity in every step of the process, right?
Right.
And because we're doing it that way, it's gonna be fucking slow. It's gonna be painful at times. The cash flow is not always gonna come in like it should. You know what I mean? The people are gonna feel like we wronged them because we booted them from the company because they wanted to be a different person at work than they were in their personal life. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It was bleeding over into the company. And so, you know, we're going to be talked about in that sense, and it is what it is. I'm completely fine with that because I know that the same thing happens in life in every aspect of it. If you want to get in shape, you're going to have to go through some pain. and it's going to be a long process. Yeah, you can go to Dr. So-and-so and get cut up and do the plastic surgery route, shrink the stomach and, all that different stuff that people do nowadays, and take the fast route. But your end result is not going to be sustainable for very long, and you're not going to have much peace.
Right.
And so that's kind of where everything ends up at. Like, if you do things that you're aligned with, and you operate on your values, and you do right by other people, and you give back, and you tithe, or whatever you're called to do, then when your work is done at the end of the day, you have peace, and you can genuinely be present with the people that matter, and have an abundant life. You know what I'm saying? This is not a poor life I'm talking about. But it is going to take some time to build the right way if you're going to build it. And so many people overuse that term. Well, you got to build it the right way. Do you really know what the right way means? Because it's not the right way when we're showing the part of the company that everybody can see. It's the right way inside the company.
Right.
It's the right way with your people. It's the right way with the customer. And everybody can see through your company because you're transparent.
Right. So my next question, with all that being said, if you had to become an employee for someone else, knowing all that you know, you become an employee for someone else, you find out that their values are not what you expected at first, but you've built your relationship with the company, you built your relationship with the people in the company. How would you go about introducing, as an employee, your personal core values into the company and changing it from within?
Oh, that's a good question. So I think in order to have that kind of impact within a company, you have to be, what's the word? You have to be, they can't be willing to lose you. You have to be irreplaceable. You have to be...
Okay, yeah. I actually just saw a book about that.
Yeah, you have to make yourself...
I know the word you're thinking of. I just can't... It's like not on the tip of my tongue yet.
You have to become vital in the company.
Yeah.
And I believe in order to do that, there has to be work put in first. Because here's the deal. Like, so many people come into your company and they want to change a core value, or they want to change the mission statement, or they want to change the way you do business, right?
Right.
And then they love to come in. They say they want to change something, and you say, no, we're not going to change that until you do X, Y, and Z. And they're like, oh, you're afraid of change, or they use some cliche term. And it's not that. It's like, I have to make sure that you can follow through with something before I even consider this big change in the company, right?
Right.
And so you have to go into a company, and one of the things I talked about at the Growth Encounter conference last week was, so there were some employees there were some salespeople, and there were some business owners there. So my conversation was about building great sales teams, right? And I talked about our responsibility as owners to our sales program to make sure that it's robust, that it has a good culture, and that our people are compensated properly, and that they have good systems and tools in place, right? Kodak. To a T, I went through the whole thing. And at the end of it, I was like, hey, I'm not giving you permission to go to your boss after this and say, hey, how come we're not doing this? Doug said in order to build a great sales team, you got to do this. Why aren't we doing this? No, I'm giving you permission to go in and change the thing that you're not doing, right? So if you look at a sales team and you're on it or whatever, and there's no SOP for basically the customer experience after the sale, right? There's no follow-up process. There's no survey that's happening or something like that. Then go into a Google Sheet or a Google Doc and write out step 1, post install. Step 1, reach out to the customer and make sure they were satisfied with the service. Step 2, write it out, assign the people in the company that you think would be good at it, and then bring it to the next sales meeting, bring it to the next operations meeting, bring it to your supervisor or your boss or the owner of the company and say, hey, I felt like we needed this. I went to a conference last week that said, hey, you got to have this follow-up process in place so you can get the feedback from your customers. And this is what I have for you. Can we insert this into our sales program? And then you're bringing some value. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You're making yourself indispensable.
Indispensable.
Right? And so at that point, after consistently doing that in the company, then I feel like you can start being a change maker when it comes to the company's values or when it comes to the company's movement, culture, these very high level things that usually are reserved for the visionary in the company.
Right. Now, okay, so for you, would you look, and I kind of already know this answer, but I want to see how you word it. Would you look more at their production or would you look at their character when it comes down to those kinds of things? So I already have an answer in my head that I think you're going to say. So let's see if I'm right.
Man, that's tough.
I thought this was an easy one.
No, it's not because of what I just said.
Yeah.
Like putting together the SOP and inserting it into the sales program and getting that approval and everything, that's production.
Yeah.
Going out and you may not make any sales, but you can show, hey, I hit 70 doors, I had 15 conversations, I spoke with 8 decision makers. You can show all that. That's production too. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And I feel like character follows production. And so no, I can't say that because they could be very talented and be closing really well and not have good character.
So I was thinking production follows character. Because like all those things that you said, I was thinking if they don't have a strong enough character, then they're not going to do that. Like just flat out, they're not going to do that. They're going to do the bare minimum for themselves and then call it a day.
It's tough because there are talented salespeople out there that you put them in front of a customer and they're going to close.
Yeah.
Because they have raw talent. And so... And typically what I find is the ones that the top producers, the elite salespeople that are elite from talent and not from experience and work ethic, they're elite from talent, they typically cut corners, don't have the values or whatever the case may be. So it's like you could easily fake production.
Yeah.
Or not fake production, but fake character through production. But you can't... You can't fake character through the income producing activities, which is knocking doors, which is adding to the sales program, which is contributing something of substance or value.
Right.
So I unfortunately, I hate answering this way, but I think it's both. It's character and production. You could be an angel, but if you're not able to go out and sell, I'm not gonna respect your opinion towards our sales program. I'm just not. You know what I mean?
No, that's fair.
Yeah, you either got to be able to sell, you got to be able to train. That's it. You got to be able to sell or be able to train.
You got to be able to do something worth my time. In that sense. Okay, so be able to train, be able to do something that shows that, hey, what you're presenting, I think also you should be doing it yourself already. Mm-hmm. Like that's another thing. Like if you're not doing something already that you are bringing to the table, then what makes you? How are you qualified to present that to everybody else?
Where's the data?
Yeah, right? The metrics.
Too many times people come to me and they complain or they say, "Hey, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread," or "This is terrible. We should remove it from our process," or "We should buy this," or "We should fire them." And every single time, the first place that I go is the data. Show me the data that supports your opinion. Because it is an opinion until you've got data to back it up.
No, that makes all the sense in the world. Because, I agree with that 100%. Because people, it's easy for people to just kind of talk. Everybody has an opinions. They're kind of like tail ends, because this is going everywhere. I try to keep it clean for the children in the audience.
Tail ends.
Your tail ends. Everybody has one, but nobody wants to hear about yours.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times people just share their opinions like it's the best thing in the world, like they're God's gift to whatever situation it is. And
like more times unresolved issues are coming up, right?
No unresolved issues right now, at least. So my next question, I just had it. Camera decided to be funny on me, so I just lost it. It's going to come back to me. It's going to come back to me here in a second.
Oh man!
Gosh, it was the best one. It was the best one out. Okay, building relationships. Okay. How important? Because I feel like the majority of this has been talking about that building of a relationship. The team nights, the culture.
Mm-hmm.
How important is building the relationship outside of work to also having that good working relationship? Like, I would say it's huge, because if you don't know, if they don't feel like they can come to you about life,
yeah,
then I think that they wouldn't want to stay there very often. One thing that I can say is I had a employer actually earlier this year, and we had zero conversations outside of either what I'm not doing right at work, which is what he told me to do at work, and how I'm costing him his company, or whatever the case might be. But he always wanted an ear to listen. So how important would you say it is to you to have that relationship with your team outside of work as well as inside of work?
So it's incredibly important that your team, and I hate to use this terminology, but it works for this instance, but it's important that your people feel safe coming to you with stuff outside of work that's affecting work, and even if it's not affecting work and it's just something that's weighing heavy on them and hurting their mental health, I feel like they should always be able to come to you and have those conversations. And so the easiest way to create that relationship, one, you definitely want to encourage your leadership to create the relationship first, right? So if you're in a situation like mine where there's levels in between you and the entry-level sales rep, then you want your leadership to create that relationship to where, hey, if you got something going on in your personal life, let's talk about it, and let's create a plan that satisfies work and that satisfies your personal life. And here's the deal, is like sometimes the plan can't satisfy both, but at least I know what's going on, and you're just not showing up to work.
Right.
So, there's two schools of thought on this. There's the employee-centric thought, which is I'm going to keep work about work, and that's going to be it. And I'm going to quiet quit is the new trend, right?
Are people doing that?
Yeah, I mean, it's more of a corporate thing, I feel like when they're asked to work extra, or when they're basically supposed to go above what they're getting paid for, which is so, there's so many variables involved in that. But anyways, my point is, you want to create the kind of culture that they feel safe coming to you with stuff outside of work. And look, there's a limit to it. I do, because I've created that kind of culture, and I will answer that phone, and I will be empathetic to whatever's going on in their life. Sometimes people take advantage of it, and they paint these victim pictures, but I am kind of a hard ass in that sense, and I will call them out on it. It's like, we operate with integrity, you know what I mean? Like, we work hard, and if I'm not hearing that in their conversation about their personal life, then I absolutely bring what we do at work into their personal life to benefit them, right? So it's like, if something's going on in their personal life that they can overcome by applying our core values, then I'm going to bring the core values out, right? But anyways, an easy way to make sure that you have a healthy relationship with your people is something that I've been talking about a lot, and it's kind of been holding me accountable to get on top of it myself, but is having 15-minute touch bases with everybody in your company, right? And so I've got about 20, 25 people in my company right now, and so if I did that once a month, I should be able to do one a day, right? And of course, you know, I'll stack them up on Fridays or Tuesdays or something like that. I'll stack them up to knock them all out in the week and have just an hour and a half of phone time to be able to do that. But if you've got 40, 60, 80, 100, it may be a quarterly thing for you. You know what I mean? Or it may be something that you put on a timeline. So like what I used to do when I had 100 plus people is, it was 5 days after they were hired, I had a phone call scheduled with them. And it wasn't me scheduling a phone call with them, it was on my calendar to call them. And so, you know, this is something I learned in giftology, but it also I learned about giftology after I used to do this, but it makes sense that this is a thing. So it appears random, and it appears that you were thinking about them, so you called them. And so that has so much more meaning behind it than scheduling a, touch base call with the CEO. And so you just call them randomly and say, hey, this is Doug. I just wanted to touch base with you, see how you like everything going with the company so far. And I would have about 2 or 3 questions that I was asked every single one of them, but I would let the conversation flow naturally. And then I would wrap it up around 15 minutes. And typically that would give me so much insight to, one, who they were, and then 2, how their experience was coming into the company. So that's at the entry level, right? And then so I would have another one scheduled for 6 weeks. So it's like, or 5 weeks. So 5 days, 5 weeks, you know what I mean? And then depending on how many people I had within the company, every 6 to 8 weeks, I would have one of these calls in my calendar. It would all be based on their hire date. You know what I mean? So everybody would get the same amount of attention over the year, depending on when they were hired. And so that worked out really well. Obviously you've got different touch bases scheduled with your management and stuff like that. Anyways, you're in weekly meetings with your management, so that's not a big issue. Maybe your middle management needs a little more attention, but you adjust accordingly, right? And so what that does is it gives you that pulse throughout the company, what's going on in the company, and you're not hearing the same thing from your management, you're hearing it from everybody.
Right.
And then the second thing is, yes, you're going to have conversations about their personal life. You're going to ask them about their wife, their girlfriend, their brand new baby, how are they doing, all that kind of stuff. If you want to get really detailed about it, and this is going to be me, I already know it, then why not, have like in that calendar invite that, repeats, or even in your CRM, or just in a notebook. You know what I mean? How amazing would that be to have a notebook that you went back to, and it can be digital or paper, that you went back to and it had notes on those conversations. You know what I'm saying? So you can come back to them. And I feel like at my head count, that's not going to be a big deal. I can remember most of that. But when you do get into that 50 plus head count, I would definitely want notes on the wife's name, the kids, t-ball or baseball, what are they into, what's going on in their lives.
Oh, that's really good, because it does, like, I want to say it was Sam Kaufman. He said he doesn't like the idea of work-life balance because his life not necessarily revolves around work, but everything in his life is work. Everything that he's doing, he's working towards something, and all those line up. All of them are aligned. I guess that's kind of I haven't read the book, but I guess that's kind of the concept of aligning your empire.
Yes.
Boom, there you go. Look at me.
Connecting the dots.
Osmosis is what they be saying. But honestly, you will. I've been thinking about it since MDM. Like, you will never be able to completely cut off life from work. It's just not possible. It's literally not possible.
Yeah.
Like,
you just have people that are a little deeper into your life. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like, you know, like the fact that you and I spend so much time together, like, because, you know, you're the media manager and you have to capture all this stuff. Like, I'm going to have a deeper relationship with you than I am, you know, one of the salespeople. It's just the way that it is, because
we take 2-hour trips almost every other week.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely going to be a lot deeper, and it's just impossible. It's impossible to have a quote unquote work-life balance when you're doing it right, because you're going to realize, hey, I need to be intentional about everything that I have and everything that I'm doing. And when you are intentional about it, it's going to work out the way that it needs to work out.
Yeah.
However that balance, quote unquote, looks, it's just the way that it's going to have to look. So we're creeping up on an hour. We also have had a few calls that Doug probably should be taking. So we're gonna end this nice little car ride with some words of wisdom. Go ahead, Doug.
Oh man. So there's no work-life balance.
Yes.
I don't believe that at all. I can't agree with you more. But what you can do is be present where you're at. Be present where your feet are planted, right? I just heard that quote before, but I do. My day lives in time slots in my head and time slots in my calendar, right? And it's very hard to do sometimes, because we have, as entrepreneurs, we have a laundry list, 100 things long, and we always feel like we should be working on it, right? But, you know, if there's 15 minutes before an event or a meeting that's about to happen, you're not going to get much done in that 15 minutes. So why not walk over to one of your people, your staff, your admin, make a phone call and make a connection, right? And so when you do have that downtime, make a connection, continue to build the relationships, and that will just mean so much more to them than whatever task that you're going to complete in that moment, unless it was their payroll. That's what I got.
Nice. So my words of wisdom are: chew the hay, spit the sticks. It's an old saying that they said. See, I thought we were going to turn right now, and I thought I wasn't going to have to finish this, but now that we're stopping, no, it's chew the hay, spit the sticks. Basically meaning, like, you get everything that you need out of a situation, and everything that you don't, throw it out. And I think that a lot of times what we tend to do is we tend to try to take all of a situation and apply it into our lives, and a lot of times that doesn't work. I think that in those building of relationships, I think what stuck out to me and why I wanted to share this was the whole, like, if it's applicable, you bring the core values into their personal situation. And you can only do that if you're paying attention to what's being said. You're taking out the actual issue, and you address it right then and there. So to avoid a lot of that, one thing that can help you in any situation is chew the hay, spit the sticks. Focus in on what's important, and then allow everything else to kind of wash off of you, and you throw that out of whatever the situation might be.
Man, it's weird how in so many conversations I do that naturally, and I almost piss people off when I do it, because they're like, well, I want to chew on all these sticks, and I'm like, well, let's focus on the first problem, and then we'll get to that.
Yeah, if
like,
it is a problem.
I have to stop people and refocus them. It's like, hey, we need to fix this problem first, or we need to let's work through this issue, and then we'll go to the next one, versus trying to accomplish everything at once.
Yeah,
it's just never going to happen.
It's not going to work. But yeah, I mean, that's all I got. Doug, is that all you got?
Yeah, that's all we got. And this was as if you couldn't tell, I know you could tell, this was an impromptu episode, and we were it's Wednesday? It's Tuesday.
It's Tuesday. That's supposed to come out tomorrow.
This is going to come out tomorrow. This is what we get for deciding to do 3 episodes a week, and then you travel and you didn't load up your episodes, whatever the case is. But hey, consistency wins championships, people.
Yes.
So we are not going to miss the Wednesday episode. Ryan's going to put in the work tonight.
I am going to
get it uploaded, and we're going to stay consistent.
And it's going to be fire.
3 episodes a week, baby. 3 episodes a week. And we're going off.
This is gonna be a great one. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Building Great Sales Teams. We appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and leave a review wherever you consume podcasts, and subscribe so you're notified when we release new content. Great sales teams aren't recruited, they are built, brick by brick. Let's get building.